Would you like to know how not to do a wingsuit flyby while you're standing next to a Highline? Check it out on this episode of How Not to Highline. Hi, I'm Ryan Jinks, and welcome to the Eastern Sierras, where we have this gap where we are going to have a wingsuit person fly by me. We decided above, within hopefully 3 meters. Why, you ask? We don't have a good reason. But these are some of the logistics that we thought of when we were preparing for this trip. As you can see, this line's a little unique. We have used car sale flags, and they really are obnoxious. We taped this in the park to the backup line, because if you tape it to the main with the backup sliding, it would hit the flags and knock them off. So it's taped to the backup, but you can see how frustrating this is. I was able to send the line, but the whole point is that I hold exposure facing the wingsuiter as they come towards me to make it a little bit more intense. We could have rigged higher up on this thing and actually probably got a 60 or 70 meter line out of it, but the lower we are, the more air he gets. And the higher he is, the more accurate he can swoop down. You'll get speed, and speed is accuracy, and I want it to be accurate. Other things to consider are conditions. We are going to try filming this late in the evening when the wind is not doing that to the line. Actually, it's pretty mild right now compared to what it was doing, but we want conditions perfect for the wingsuit guy. And he has a chart on what his worst case and best case scenarios are, and the distance between this gap and where he's exiting from. And so this has all been calculated. This is not a let's see if we don't die kind of stunt. And he has the option to bail at any point, more or less, if he doesn't get the horizontal that he needs before he comes barreling at me. So we would just try it again tomorrow if that was the case, because safety first. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. It went by really quick. I mean, we spent all day prepping for this, right? So it felt quick, and it definitely wasn't 20 seconds from the time his feet left. But I stood up and focused more on being stable. I didn't actually lock eye contact with him because things are dark and light. I just don't want to deal with it. But the GoPros, I think, were facing towards him. I cockeyed him, and but oh my god, I think he was within what felt like 10 feet above my line, which is crazy because, like, shit, if I fucked up, like, oh man. So that was super cool. I could hear him 10 seconds away. I knew he was like on his way just from the noise. The wind, as you can see here, is a lot more stable than it was. Those are just the flags blowing up. The backup lines are not, so we had great conditions. And now, luckily, we don't have to try this tomorrow. We can clean up, and yeah, that was really cool. Don't try this at home. Here are some additional thoughts I've had since being home. The GoPros were actually quite difficult to manage just because they're GoPros, but they're facing forward. And if I did it again, I would have to like invert it upside down to face up, because he is coming in at, you could see, a 45-degree angle. And so it basically didn't capture much at all of him. Some other people just did a wingsuit flyby project as well by a Highline, and they also had terrible GoPro footage from the Highliner itself because it was just in the upper portion of his footage. Of course, like we said, the flag sucked. We wouldn't do it again, so maybe next time we'll just have to light the Highline on fire. So it kind of was difficult to enjoy the moment for myself because I was managing 4 cameras. Lorenzo was managing 2 on the other side. And I was trying to communicate on the walkie-talkie while I'm standing there. It would have been nice to have a larger team with me at the space we rigged the Highline. And it would have been a lot easier if we rigged the Highline in a simpler location. Of course, you're kind of limited on exits and flybys, but the location would have been nice if it was a lot easier. It took us 4 hours to get out of there, and it was quite difficult. and it took a lot of gear since we didn't know what we would need and had to basically establish a line on the spot without any failures. So we had to bring more than we would normally have brought. And being that we did the flyby at evening, we ended up hiking all that out at night, getting lost and whatever. So preferably a simpler Highline, more people to help manage cameras more than just rigging, because I mean we can rig if we have all day. And maybe manage the GoPros on my head a little bit better if I have them at all. But overall, it was a successful project. I don't know how often we would or should do that, but we are thinking of some future projects that might be cool, like a obstacle course for him to fly through. So we'll see how all that works out. But here are some thoughts from Daniel Risto himself about his version of what happened.
So I just wanted to share a few of my thoughts on the project. Obviously, everything went well, everything went to plan. We got the flyby, got the shot, it was really fun, but it was a pretty technical project to pull off, and there's a few things that went into that. Ryan already described how technical it was to rig the line, but the flight itself was pretty challenging too. The notch on its own is pretty hard to fly through. You need a near perfect start and near perfect glide following that start just to make it through the bottom of it, never mind through a Highline rigged about 80 feet up. We chose to do the jump in sunset conditions, as there'd be thermals coming off the rock to give me lift on the start and a bit of lift on flight to make it a little bit easier on me. To decide how close to fly to Ryan, it really mattered how much I was diving at him, as wingsuits have more precision the faster you're flying. Since I had a good start and good glide, I was able to dive down near the end, pick up quite a bit of speed, and instead of having to stay about 30 or 40 feet away, which I would have had to do if I was just squeaking by, I was able to come about 5 feet off the line and 10 feet to the side. That was the plan, as if I flew right over his head, the wind from me would probably knock him off the line. And I wanted to stay at least 5 feet above the line, because we knew even if he whipped, the line would only come up about as high as his head, so with him in the middle, that would be lower than the 5 feet with me off to the side. The project was really fun, but there's a few things we'd change for next time. First, we'd find an easier location for me to fly through, where I didn't really have to worry about getting a perfect start or perfect glide, and could just have a nice relaxed exit and dive down on it and have a lot more margin. We'd also pick somewhere that was a little bit easier to rig, so it wouldn't take all day and be such a burly effort just to get down there. And then we'd also ditch those flags, since they didn't really help too much for the visibility, and they definitely got in the way for Ryan walking and kind of blew around and wrapped around everywhere, so they weren't really necessary. All in all though, wingsuiting is way more fun than highlining, so you shouldn't highline.